The Bubba effect is something that I brought to America about 2003, and it describes a really dangerous social dynamic that will emerge when the average everyday American citizen no longer believes in the institutions, government, media, law enforcement, our courts, and it begins with the local guy, Bubba. Bubba, it'll be Bubba against the officials, the government, or whoever. And Bubba might do something stupid, something that we're like, oh, Bubba, don't do that. What are you doing? But he does it. And even though he might be wrong or might be misguided in the way he's doing it, everybody kind of just looks away and goes, yeah, well, that's just Bubba. You know, don't worry about Bubba. But he's right about this. You're the problem. Okay? I've been warning since 2003 about the Bubba effect, that at some point it's going to happen. And it is everywhere today. And I want to show you where it is, because I've got 4 different stories today I'm going to take you through in the next 60 minutes or probably 120 minutes. And in that, you will see the Bubba effect everywhere. And it is not just one place. Okay? This is not an academic phrase. This is rooted in not only American history, but in human behavior. So let me explain. When the government loses its legitimacy and people no longer believe the official explanations or the official investigations, and there is no official moral authority, the outsider becomes the trusted insider. Okay? Now let's go through this. Do you believe the explanations of what is happening on most things today? Do you believe the explanations just of stupid stuff like, hey, those were drones over the skies and we can't tell you what they are, but they were definitely not from China and they're definitely not from space. They were probably ours. Do you believe that explanation? I mean, and that could be one of the most consequential depending on what it is, but it really doesn't mean all that much because we don't know what it is. Okay. But I don't believe them. Do you believe the Epstein thing is on the up and up, that we're ever going to get the truth? No. Do you believe that the investigations either, on either side, into Trump or into Trump's enemies, that justice is ever going to be done? No. The shooters. Do you believe the Butler shooter? Do you believe Charlie Kirk? That thing? Do you even know where to stand on that one? I mean, I think I do, but I don't know. But look at how people are saying, oh, you know what? That was an inside job. And so many people are believing it. That's the Bubba effect. Okay? When a crisis hits, a shooting, a standoff, a raid, people stop siding with the government and instead side with Bubba, the neighbor who stands against the federal power. Wrongdoing becomes irrelevant. Even if Bubba is partially or completely wrong, the public's animosity towards authority is so deep that they go to defend Bubba just as an act of protest. In a way, you saw this with O.J. Simpson. All of the jurors later said, yeah, we knew he was guilty, but we wanted to. It was a form of protest. Once it starts, it begins to escalate everywhere. And then authorities have to crack down even harder, and that causes more escalation. Okay? Citizens resist more fiercely. Each side starts to interpret the other side as the aggressor. Now, this is happening now in Dearborn, Michigan. People are sick and tired of what is going on in Dearborn, Michigan. The lies about what is happening with the immigrants that are coming in, with these communities that are closed off, with the clear threat that Sharia law is, with what we're seeing happening in the city council meetings, what we're seeing happening on the streets, what's happening in our communities and our country, we feel like we're losing America, the America that we grew up in. But more than that now, it is becoming clear that the faith we have all had that helped build this country is coming under attack by a very hostile force, Sharia law. Now, no one with any credibility is doing anything. They've been calling, everybody a Islamophobe forever. And so that doesn't hold any weight anymore, right? So some guy comes and he's wrapping a Quran in bacon. Okay, would Jesus do that? No. Are you thrilled and happy that that's happening? No. Is that the way to make the case? No. But why is it being condoned or dismissed by so many people? Because of the Bubba effect. At least he's pointing out the problem. Sound familiar? That's the Bubba effect. It's not one guy on the porch with a rifle. It's about a societal tipping point. And when trust collapses, law becomes optional. Morals become optional. When institutions lose their moral credibility, power then becomes coercion. When the public assumes that corruption is the default, the truth no longer matters. And in that atmosphere, even a minor confrontation can spiral into a national crisis. And that is exactly where we're headed. And history is full of these moments. 1790s, the Whiskey Rebellion. What was that? They couldn't pay the soldiers. So what do they do? Well, states decide, I got to raise the taxes. They raise taxes on whiskey. Well, that turns into, that's a federal overreach. What if soldiers fought against that? Higher taxes. Now you're taxing our whiskey. Yeah, because we have to pay you and we don't have any other way to raise money. Well, we want our money, but we don't want taxes. And so what happened? That overreach turned dissenters into folk heroes. Bleeding Kansas, that happened in the 1850s. Distrust in the federal arbitration caused vigilante on both sides to become local champions because some were standing up for slavery and government overreach, and some were standing up for it. Okay? Post-Reconstruction, citizens preferred the local strongman over the federal enforcement of civil rights. Whenever trust collapses, citizens instinctively choose the closest authority in their community, even if it is flawed. You will defend even the wrong guy, not because he's right, but because the system is wrong. And that is the real danger of the Bubba effect. It's not a call to rebellion. It's a warning that unchecked corruption eventually produces rebellion spontaneously. It always happens. And the Bubba effect is a natural consequence of a nation that mocks accountability. Do you think accountability is being mocked? You're held accountable. Is anybody else? It punishes dissent. Or no matter which side you're on. You're either a communist or a Nazi and you need to be shut up. It hides behind bureaucracy. Well, we can't release that because we don't have all the details because, well, this is an ongoing investigation, an investigation that nobody believes. And then it expects unquestioning obedience. Trust us. There's nothing to see here. The Bubba effect is a symptom of a republic in decline, not the cause of it. Now, let me show you a different kind of Bubba effect. And this one, well, let me just play it. Came out a couple of days ago. Here are the Democrats putting together something that is aimed directly towards the Bubbas in the military and the CIA. Listen.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution,
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
All right. I want to talk to you about that because this is causing all kinds of problems because now Donald Trump has responded and saying they should be executed. They should not be executed. However, I do believe this is seditious, and I'll explain the difference between treason and sedition here in just a second and show you how this is the Bubba effect, just a different version of it. All right, this is not about Republicans. This is not about Democrats. It's not about the president, Donald Trump. This is something that no generation of American has ever seen, not in 250 years of constitutional history. A group of sitting members of Congress, senators and representatives, went on camera and told active duty military personnel and the CIA to ignore orders of the president of the United States. They didn't whisper it. They didn't couch it in a private memo. They released it in a video for the entire world to see. What message is that sending to the rest of the world? For the first time in American political history, members of the United States Congress openly encouraged the military to look at the commander-in-chief and say, no. Now, this does not happen in a constitutional republic, and it cannot happen in a nation that wants to remain one. Now, you can say, and it's reasonable to say, well, this is just advice, right? It's a reminder that you don't follow illegal orders. Sounds reasonable until you look at history. Because history has a merciless way of identifying patterns long before politicians will admit to them. In the entire American experiment, there are only a handful of moments anything like this has occurred. And every single one of those was a moment that was a prelude to national fracture. 1860 to 1861, it was the secession winter. Southern leaders encourage officers at the federal level and forts to abandon the Union and pledge loyalty to the states. Not normal politics. This was the beginning of the rupture, and then came Fort Sumter. 1870, Reconstruction. Some states rejected federal authority outright. Sheriffs, militias, even sometimes judges refused federal directives. But Congress itself, they never told the Army to ignore the president. In Vietnam, members of Congress denounced the war, denounced Nixon, denounced Johnson, but no one ever told active duty troops disobey the commander-in-chief. It wasn't done. Because every generation up until this one understood something very basic. You cannot politicize the chain of command without breaking the republic. And once the military begins to decide on its own which orders are legitimate, which ones, which president they prefer, you no longer have civilian control. You no longer have a republic. You have factions inside an armed institution. And that is exactly how nations collapse. And every single one of those sitting representatives know it. Turkey, Argentina, Spain, Egypt. Every single example, the pattern is always the same. Political parties begin encouraging the military to resist the other side, and the center completely collapses. And this is the part where you need to hear me clearly. What we saw here this week with this is not the Bubba effect, where ordinary citizens lose trust in authority or rally behind the local guy. No. This is something far more seditious and serious. This is the institutional Bubba effect, where leaders inside the government with their own plan, the political class, begin urging Bubba in the military to take sides in domestic political disputes. That is a very, very bright line. The great unbroken line in American history. Unbroken in our history. That line kept us from becoming every other failed republic. And now, these people have stepped over it. Now, let me take on Donald Trump. Is this treason? No. Treason has a very narrow definition. Thank God. It requires aiding an enemy of the United States or levying war against the United States. So this is not treason in the strict constitutional sense. But here's the question. Isn't it something just as dangerous? Isn't it an attempt, intentional or not, to plant the idea inside the military that the president's orders are optional? Is it a test balloon? Is it a rehearsal? Is it a way of saying when political sides disagree with the president, the military should stand with us? Or is it at the very best just completely reckless and irresponsible political theater that forgets the most sacred principle in American governance? The military does not take sides. Period. Even if these lawmakers thought they were just, recommending moral guidance, they believe they were just reminding the troops to refuse illegal orders. That's not your job. That's the job of the generals and the job of Pete Hegseth. They do that in every classroom. Every time they're sworn in, they are told those words. That comes from within the ranks, not from political leadership. They told the rest of the world that in the bloodstream of our republic now is questioning the president. And that is unprecedented. It's historic and impossible to remove because it breaks the guardrails.